Now, did the teachers get a invite to the Google Classroom?
I opened it up and it just looked like a mess that I couldn't make anything out
Really? How about your? Did you get it?
I think I got it.
Let me look it up again.
Okay, so I'm gonna go in. So on the resource site on the home page, there's a Google Classroom link, and if you click on that, it'll take you to a sign in for Google Classroom. And for me, I have a lot of classes, so all of them show up here, but they're mine because I'm signed in. So yours should have your classroom show up. And then the name of this classroom is Response to Intervention. And if you're not in, I can re-invite you, or you could just sign into Google Class and sign into this code IRUD8OM, and that should get you in. So I just want to go through the kind of the planning process, and there's a little bit of just review here about RTI. What is RTI? Remember that RTI is intervention using quality instruction that addresses skill needs, frequent progress monitoring to assess goals, making instructional and curricular decisions based on data. Intervention is always instruction targeted towards skill deficits. All students are in RTI, either Tier 1, Tier 2, or Tier 3, and students move around in RTI based on growth or if they're having difficulty in a subject. So kind of that's the whole point behind RTI, is to keep kids caught up and pursue that level of grade level work in their classrooms, and to catch kids that are falling behind before it's a really big problem. Now, one thing that we have a lot of data in the over the last couple of years, we've put together a lot of data. If you go to the staff resource site, go to the assessment tab, and then open the district assessment folder, it'll take you to a web page, and on that web page, there are STAR reading and math, especially for 5th grade and up. It's all very nicely done. Your summative balance scores for 2016, your math DAs, which are district assessments the math teachers give, their timed writing scores, your DBQs. As we get into this interim assessment data, we'll start putting some of those in. We're kind of figuring that out. MobyMax, you guys have access to that. That's not in the data sheets, but you have access to that. And then other data, it's just data that you get from working with the kid. So in working with the kid, you realize he doesn't understand or he does understand what you're working on. And then that's kind of how all data matters. So when we look at a child who's struggling, we want to identify the problem, and then analyze the problem, like why do we think that's happening? Develop a plan. A plan is a goal. So if you have a student who is really struggling with multiplication or in math, and you identify the problem is they really don't know their multiplication tables, then a goal might be to work, that he will know his 4s by such and such a date. That would be a goal that you would set, you could test for, you can measure that, and you want it to be like that. You implement a plan about how you're going to get there. You're going to put him on MobyMax. You're going to do flashcards. You're going to do math facts in a flash. Right, you could use that. So you kind of come up with a goal. How am I going to get to this? And then you test him in a timely manner to see if he's on track. If he's not on track, then you got to adjust the goal. And then you evaluate, how did it work? Does he now know his 4s like fast and accurately, or is he still struggling and you have to go back identify the problem again, and just keep going through that process. The skill or behavior deficiency must be identified. One thing that in RTI that we want to really think about is sometimes students' behaviors are affecting their academics. So for example, some students have a hard time getting on task or staying on task, and some students have a hard time doing homework. So those would be behaviors that are interfering with their academics, and you want to address those as specific things. So helping them understand and practice getting on task, and having students set a timer for how long they're staying on task is a really good idea, and extending that time. So you might have a kid who's really struggling, and staying on task for 3 minutes is a big deal. So the goal now is that they stay on task for 5 minutes, and you set timers to and have them take ownership of that. So that's what that's kind of all about. And then you want to keep track of that. And you'll have to really work with the teacher that they're struggling with in that. And you can also work with the principal on that too. So when you're setting a goal, determine the type of intervention that's going to occur, set a number of sessions to occur before you check, set a number of days or amount of time before you check, and then set the criteria for what that looks like. So if your goal is that he's going to stay on task longer, then make a specific goal. He's right now able to stay on task for 2 minutes without prompting. I want him to be able to stay on task for 5 minutes without prompting. And then you're going to have to work with the teachers to check that goal. Implement and review. Document each session with the individual student and groups of students. And I'm going to show you the documents that we have for that. I think at this point where we're at, we're just going to focus on the group documents and not the individual, but eventually we want to get to where we're using the individual as well. And that's how we will determine the effectiveness of our intervention. And then if it is effective, then we move on to another problem. If it's not effective, then we have to go back. All right, questions on that? I know I kind of went fast, but I only have 15 minutes, and then I can't use, like, that's all the video will do. So I'm going to shut